here running routes. Out here running routes. Back at it again. Eddie,
Let's
Charlie,
go.
talking about risers and fallers in the NFL. We're going to go through all 32 teams. We're going to pick out a player or maybe a unit, maybe even an organization that we feel like is on the rise, and we're going to have one that's on the decline.
Yes, sir.
Follow along with us. Good feedback on last show. Thank you for your
Let's go.
contributions. Keep
Thanks
them
everybody
coming.
for listening. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Let us know what you
And
want us to talk
let's
about.
get
Let us
this
know.
let's get this thing kicked off. Give me what you got starting in the AFC East. Give me what you got for the Buffalo Bills. Give me the risers and the fallers over there.
AFC East, okay? We're talking about AFC East. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills, okay? And I'm thinking offensively. I'm thinking the offense is on the rise. Why? You got Dorsey coming. You got Dorsey coming back at offensive coordinator, calling the shots over there. I think that offensively, the draft with Dalton Kincaid, I think running a 2 tight end set. I think this is going to help Dawson Knox out. It's going to have a really good year. I think the offense is going to have a really good year. I think you'll be able to do some things with the double tight end set. I think that'll open up the run game, and I think that'll keep the pass game honest, right? Because now you don't have to just worry about the edges on the borders, right? You got who are the two receivers? You got
Diggs and Gabe Davis.
you got Diggs and Gabe Davis, who are incredible receivers. They're good, but having a double tight end set's really going to help the offense out, really going to take some pressure off the guys on the edge, and also help the run game open up, man. I'm going offense on the rise, ladies and gents. And then on the decline, I got the defense on the decline, right? It's a team sport, and there's no way Edmonds leaving is that big of a deal, but I think potentially it could be that big of a deal. Okay, you signed Ed Oliver to a tremendous deal out of Houston, drafted him in the first round. The guy's a stud at D tackle, incredible, right? But there's some things that that defense is going to end up getting humbled, okay? You end up picking up Leonard, right? Cuz you want to get a little bit, you want to try and get something on the edge here. All right, you got Shane Ray. From about 4 years ago from the Denver Broncos at linebacker that you guys signed, that you're praying he can be a contributor to that defense, right? Because the center of that defense is really going to end up hurting from the fact that Milano's not going to have his help in the center of that field over there to go out and make those tackles 100+ a season. On top of the fact that he also was a team captain. I think that that's real big, not only in the defense in the middle of the field, but also when you walk off the field into the locker room. I think that having a guy like him is really just affecting so many phases of the Buffalo Bills defense that it may just end up translating to not so good just by letting one player go. I know it's a team sport, and we may even thought last year Tyreek Hill and the Kansas City Chiefs were going to struggle because one guy left, and it didn't happen. But I think this year it could happen for Buffalo. How about you, Char?
I also got an offense and a defense. On offense, which I do like what you said about Dorsey coming in the second year, and we talked off camera just real quick. We talked off camera about the fact that I think Dorsey deferred to Allen a little bit too much, especially as the season started to go on. Hopefully, he can kind of rein back that control because you look at some of even the top offenses in the league. Patrick Mahomes is checking with Andy Reid damn near every play. And he's got the ability to make his improvisions and all that stuff too. So I do like it. I think Dorsey gets settled in a little bit more. I hope James Cook, they found the answer and they let that boy run because he was fun to watch last year. But for me, it's a wide receiver out of Boise State, was drafted last year, got on the field a little bit here and there, and that's Khalid Shakir. I like this kid. I think he can find a home with that third spot in the receiving core. They did sign Deontay Hardy. They drafted Justin Shorter, but neither one of those two feel like a polished, dependable guy. And the Shakir kid was very solid when he got playing time. So I look for him to step up and take that third wide receiver role. And then on the defensive side, my faller is Jordan Poyer. He's getting up there in age. He missed a lot of time last year. So I agree with you on the defense, taking some knocks. Now, obviously, he's going to be healthy coming back in this year, and comboing him with Micah Hyde. They've been a fantastic safety duo over the years, but I think he's getting a little bit longer in the tooth. Then you got Tre'Davious White, who didn't really get back to full strength last year, so that could be an issue down the road as well. So I think the defense going up against Miami, the Jets, they could struggle a little bit. So offense is gonna have to be a little bit better. So I think both of us nailed it on the head with where we're looking, in the big picture of things there. Next on the list, we go down south, Miami Dolphins. What are you looking at there?
Miami Dolphins. I think I don't know really as a team, but I really think as the defensive back unit for the secondary of the defense for the Miami Dolphins, I think Jalen Ramsey is going to bring a bit of tenacity, okay, a bit of grit over to them in that defensive room. Okay, I like their picking up their defensive back Cam Smith out of South Carolina is a 6 foot DB that I think is going to be really good. The Sean Elliott signing from the Baltimore Ravens to help out Javon Holland and Brandon Jones in the backfield, I think is really going to end up helping them out to have these two studs who are just really good at their position come in and just elevate a defensive back room. So I think the defensive back room for Miami is on the rise. Okay, but on the fall for me, I have a big issue with the trenches on Miami. And I think that them not doing their absolute due diligence and best to try and keep Tua standing up. I think not addressing the offensive line to protect Tua, I think, is going to be potentially their downfall, because without Tua, they're not going to win games. And, they got some guys on the roster who can step in and maybe potentially win a game or two. Skylar Thompson looked decent. They ended up picking up Mike White from the Jets, Western Kentucky, 6'5". He's got the size. He fits the bill. Can he pick up the offense and be a contributor on the blink of an eye? I don't think so. So I think potentially, without trying to do anything to that offensive line to make it better, I think that's going to be your downfall, and I think the offense is on the decline.
You make a good point with offensive line, because we saw, last year, and we touched on it on the last show, so I won't harp too much more on it. But yeah, Miami was able to tread water after Tua went down. They did an admirable job, but they were lights out through the first half of the season. I mean, just incredible. And when Tua took that hit, that changed the whole forecast of their season. So you're absolutely right. For me, it as far as the risers go, I'm on the defensive side with you. I like the pickup in particular of David Long Jr. From Tennessee. Comes over from a unit that is reasonably stacks up to this unit very well. This kid in particular, he could run, cover a lot of ground. I think he's going to fit in well. They're in the middle behind Raekwon Davis and Christian Wilkins, and then you've got Chubb and you've got Phillips on the edge. Like, we talked about it a couple of times. Like, this Miami defense, and you touched on the secondary, which is incredible as well. This defense should be something special. And that's why I'm liking the Dolphins more and more as we move forward. Now, obviously, we're doing this show early. It's training camps are just getting ready to kick off and stuff. But
No
on
pads yet.
paper,
No pads
on
yet.
paper, man, it's looking good. Now, as far as the fall goes, Raheem Mostert came over from the 49ers last year, and he fit in very nice. He was explosive, him and Wilson. But I look for him to take a step back, and I look for him to take a step back because there's obviously the big elephant floating around about Dalvin Cook might be coming down south. And then they go draft the kid out of Texas A&M, the Achane, and you still have Wilson there as well. So Mostert's been a guy that hasn't been able to stay durable throughout his career. He did a pretty good job last year, but I think them going to get Wilson helped him out a lot because if he would have been the main back the whole time, I don't know if he would have made it through. So I'm thinking Mostert's numbers take a step back here. But their running game should be just as effective as the committee. And man, look out if they get Dalvin Cook because that's to me, that turns them into a very, very legit Super Bowl contender if you add a back of his status to that roster already. We'll move forward to the New York Jets. What you got over there?
New York Jets. I got the offenses on the rise. I really think that. How do you not think that getting potentially Bryce back to start the season, at running back, and just acquiring Aaron Rodgers, who has all the accolades in which you're looking at and saying to yourself, I want him on my squad because I think we're in win mode now and we can win. There's some, they signed some receivers, drafted some guys, potentially the kid out of Ohio State who Charlie was super, super high on. He could end up being a baller and putting up, elite numbers this year and end up having an incredible season. You got Alan Lazard coming over from the Packers to give Aaron some familiarity. You brought him some speed. You got McCole Hardman over there. You brought him over Randall Cobb. They still have Corey Davis. So there's a lot of things here on this page that really just jump out at you and tell you and
Hard
say,
not to like.
yeah, what is there not to like? It's like Garrett Wilson very well could end up having a Pro Bowl season. Alan Lazard could end up having 1,000-yard campaign just because of how elite the receivers are already. So I have the offense as a whole on the rise, even though I have some question marks at offensive line. I think that Aaron Rodgers is good enough to be able to distribute the ball and potentially handle those issues. We've heard about it all before when he played for Green Bay, and this one couldn't stay healthy and that one couldn't stay healthy, and their book left tackles and right tackles were always getting hurt. Bakhtiari was going down a lot, stud offensive lineman, but still battling injury. And Aaron Rodgers always seemed to be in the thick of it and figure out a way. So I'll say Aaron coming over is going to elevate that entire offense on the rise. And then I have just one guy on the fall here, and that's offensively Denzel Mims out of Baylor, 6'3" speedy guy who's been on the team, and you got to ask yourself, like, why has he not been getting targets? He's opened his mouth up about it before. Them having all these acquisitions that I just named, them drafting last year, Ohio State rookie Garrett Wilson, Mims was still there, the signing of McCole Hardman, Corey Davis still there, the signing of Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. You have to ask yourself how much room is left in that wide receiver room when you still have the Indiana kid, Irving Charles, rookie, 6'4". So here's another guy with size, plus Lazard, plus Cap, 6'3", rookie. The names keep going. There's so many bodies, and I think he's looking like the odd man out. So I'm gonna say he's on the fall here for the New York Jets in that wide receiver room.
Yeah, he's been a head scratcher because I know his rookie year he was getting some playing time and looking pretty good,
And then
he
got
banged
injured
up
and
and
couldn't.
missed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough, and yeah, that brings me kind of. I'll start with my faller for the Jets, and that's going to be based off of last season and how he was used, and just the fit that I feel like he's going to have with the Jets. I think it's going to be Miko Hardman. I think he was in a perfect situation there in Kansas City, and I think he's going to have trouble developing trust with Aaron Rodgers because as much as I've watched of him over the years, he's not a hands guy. He's not a possession type of guy. He's a guy that you have to draw up almost specific plays to get him the ball. And I think he'll continue to do that when he's on the Jets. But I don't see Aaron Rodgers trusting him as much as Randall Cobb coming over. I think Randall Cobb could get on the field more than Mecole Hardman ends up doing, although they paid him a nice, they paid him a nice check to come over. So you would think that they would try to use him. But for me, I think he takes a step back as far as production goes and relevancy. And then my riser, of course, it's Garrett Wilson. I think he could be a top 10 wide receiver next year. He was over 1,000 yards receiving last year, led all rookies in catches, ended up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. And this was with, your before mentioned Mike White, Joe Flacco, and Zach Wilson throwing him the ball. Aaron Rodgers is undoubtedly going to fall in love with this kid. And I think he's just going to take off. So I'm looking for Garrett Wilson to have a big, big year. To round out the East, though, we'll move on to the New England Patriots. What you looking at over there in New England?
New England Patriots. New England Patriots. Real tough subject for me. Real tough. It's really hard to. I mean, I'm sure you could sit here and just start picking out all these things with New England. Maybe say the coaching staff issues that they have during midseason. Who's calling what? Who's doing what? You got a bunch of old faces coming back to, potentially try to rekindle some sort of magic when the magic really had to do with Tom Brady and that roster. Okay, but we got Jabril Peppers here on the rise at safety, coming over from New York, playing 3 seasons, having a good second season with the Giants, but the third season was no good, and we ended up cutting him loose. He ends up going to the Patriots, played 17 games, 60 tackles, 35 solo, 25 assists. And I just think that, him having that good season, he's just going to continue that on with that Patriot defense, and he's going to have another good season this year. And then I'll just jump on the other side of the ball here to get you my my fall is going to end up being a wide receiver on a roster in which they're trying to struggle and find out, is our passer going to be the guy, because yes. I just read an article about how, Mac Jones is going to prove to everyone that he is their guy. He's going to earn everyone's respect. And I don't know, I don't know if this was a tough one for me. I don't know if it's Devontae Parker. I mean, Devontae Parker's never really played a lot of games. He's played 16 games one time in 2019, and that was his only 1,000-yard season. Okay, he had a 16.7-yard average. He scored 9 touchdowns. That was his best season receiving. That was the most targets he's ever received, and that's the most touchdowns he's ever scored ever on Miami. And 3 seasons later, they let him go. He's a New England Patriot for 1 year. He only played 13 games, 31 receptions, 47 targets, 539 yards, averaging 17.4 a catch and 3 touchdowns. Now, I just don't think that that's it, and I don't think that he's going to be on the rise. In fact, I think he'll be on the fall. Devontae Parker on the fall. You got a bunch of guys on this roster trying to make a name for themselves. You got Kayshawn Butcher out of LSU. You got
Butchered.
Yep. You got Ty Montgomery.
Yep.
You got Keyshawn Bourne. You got Juju Smith-Schuster. You got Traquan Thornton, the speedster. You got so much on here. Matthew Slater still trying to make a poke at something. You got a rookie Ed Lee.
It's funny you talked about the wide receivers because that is my riser and fallers fall within that position group as well. Juju Smith-Schuster signed over from Kansas City, had a phenomenal year. I thought he could be successful last year. Definitely exceeded what I expected from him. He became the pseudo number 1 target for Mahomes down the stretch, minus Travis Kelce, of course. 78 catches, 933 yards, only scored 3 times. But the big thing was he stayed healthy the majority of the season. He did miss a couple of games down the stretch, but he was a solid, viable option for them. Didn't really – he seemed to fit in with the culture. Obviously, Juju's had his run-ins with Snapchat and all that stuff from his time with Pittsburgh and stuff like that. But he seemed to fit in very well in KC. I was kind of surprised that they didn't try to hold on to him personally. Now coming over to the Patriots, I think it's going to kind of be the counter. I don't see him fitting in great with the Patriots. Now, it's no knock necessarily on Juju, but it's kind of like, to
It's
me,
a knock.
mixing water and oil there. And the kid that I'm looking at on the wide receiver core, that I was huge on coming out of the draft last year, was Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor. Got on the field a little bit, but never could really stretch his legs because of how bad the offense was and how poorly Mac Jones' not only accuracy was, but just the protection in general when they were trying to throw. Everything was off with Matt Patricia, splitting duties, trying to call plays there. They bring over Bill O'Brien. Hasn't been necessarily successful as a head coach, but he was able to turn up, the Texans offense a couple of years with DeAndre Hopkins there. And this kid, Tyquan Thornton, reminds me a lot of what Hopkins build is and what he can do. When I watched him at Baylor, fell in love with him. I couldn't believe he fell so far in the draft. Came out running a 4.22, which was just off the NFL record at the combine as far as the 40-yard dash goes. And the kid's 6'2". Definitely need to put on a little bit more weight. I think he was at a $188 last year, so I'd like to see him put on another 5 pounds worth of muscle and be a little stronger. But catches the ball well with his hands. I think he is going to be the lead guy come the end of the season for the New England Patriots. Now, how much that's saying, considering, last year's leader was Jacoby Myers, 96 grabs for 804. I don't know how much of that's going to be. That'll be yet to be seen, but I guarantee you Thornton's going to become a name, and it'll become at least fantasy relevant down the stretch as well. Moving on to the next division, we got AFC North. We'll kick it off with the Ravens. What are you looking at there with the Ravens?
Yeah, we got Baltimore Ravens here. I got on the rise. I got the entire wide receiver room on the rise. And, I mean, how could you not have the entire wide receiver room on the rise here? Nelson Aguilar moving over from the Patriots. Rashad Bateman coming back. Odell Beckham, brand new acquisition. You got Duvernay coming back. You got the first round draft pick, Zay Flowers. You got Isabella coming back for another season. Came from Arizona. You got some guys over there, and they, and year two coming in, you got Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews will be coming back. So you're thinking like passing wise, no excuses this year for passing wise, right? That's my rise. But I'm going to stay with the same side of the ball. We're going to go behind the line of scrimmage, and we're going to talk about what they didn't do this season. They didn't draft a running back at all. Like, they didn't draft a running back, period. They did do some decent drafting. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they pulled some stuff. They got some decent guys over here. Trent Simpson from Clemson, and you got Blue Kelly from Stanford, the defensive back. You did some things. You drafted 2 offensive linemen. You did some good things over here. But the thing that's on the decline for me, and I don't know how you ignore this, and I don't know how you go through 2 seasons of this with 0 production from that position and don't do anything about it. Shame on you, Baltimore, for thinking that Lamar is enough in the run game. But thinking that J.K. Dobbs is going to stay healthy, Gus Edwards is going to stay healthy, Justice Hill is going to stay healthy, and even when they were healthy, they really weren't doing it. J.K. Dobbs, best season, rookie season, 800 yards. 15 games, 134 carries. We only got 800 yards. 2 fumbles.
He did look really good when he came back off the injury last season, though. But you're right. I mean, running backs in particular.
2 fumbles, and you're saying he looked really good last year. That was 8 games, 92 carries, 500 yards. Yep. That's looking good. I mean, the average is good, 5.7 and the 6.
Eyeball test. He looked fast. Yeah. He was popping.
So I mean, and then that's it. And then you still have the usual suspects. You got Keontae Mitchell from last season. You got Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. It's the same song and dance. You picked up Ben Mason out of the rookie free agent class
49ers.
last year. Patrick
Yeah.
Ricard is still on the squad. But that was it. You didn't try and sign any money. I mean, Zeke was out there. I mean, it's not even like I mean, like, try to get somebody else. Try to get something. Like, go take a shot at a draft pick, trade up in the later rounds. I mean, you only had 5 picks. I mean, you're telling me you couldn't trade up in the 5th or 6th to get another guy? I mean,
I gotta agree with you.
I
gotta agree with you.
I just feel like when your whole entire offense is based around a running quarterback, you should at least try and help dude out by keeping the offense,
Balance.
balanced and keeping the defense on the heels of their feet. Is he gonna run it? Is the running back gonna run it? Is he gonna throw it? I don't know. But when Lamar's the bulk of your carries and he's the only one running the ball, it's like it's a little bit more easier to stop. Yes, he's an elite athlete, but still, you got to give the guy some help. It's a team sport. Help him out.
Agreed.
That's my
Agreed.
fault.
No, I gotta agree with you. Not adding a body to that room based off of all the injuries they've gone through over the past 2-3 seasons, especially at that position and at cornerback. Now, obviously, they addressed a little bit of the cornerback situation in the draft, but not to snag a running back is surprising. But you never know. We are early in the off season. Cut time comes, and they've been a team that could plug somebody in, and if the wide receiver core is as good as we think that they're going to be, then it might not be as much of a problem down the stretch. They might not have to rely on that so much. But you're right, you got to stay balanced in the NFL. And if you don't have a guy, it makes it troublesome because 2-3 yards in a cloud of dust is back in the 70s. You got to have explosive talent back there that's healthy. For me, the riser is going to be the Ravens defense. They took a major step backwards, probably 2 step backwards after the past 2 seasons. But I think drafting Kyle Hamilton last year, he came along. He was a lot nicer than what I thought he was going to be. And then you're getting the linebacking core even stronger. You go draft Trenton Simpson, which I can't believe fell to him all the way in the 3rd round. You're getting a Jobo for the first time out of Michigan, which is just a freak pass rusher. You got a Dafe Owe, you got Queen coming back, you got Roquan Smith, who you traded for. I like how they did in the with the secondary as well, and the defense should be much, much, much more improved. They're going to be getting after the passer this year. There's no doubt about it, and that will help the secondary that may lack a step or two with their older corners. Humphrey's getting up there a little bit now. And I don't think they've re-signed Peters yet, or he might still be on the roster. I'm not sure, but
No, but the
that's
Trayvon.
still a soft spot. But I expect the defense. The defense was porous over the past couple of seasons. Everybody was able to do whatever they wanted against the Baltimore Ravens, and from the heyday of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and all that stuff, that's what they hung their hat on. It was just similar to Pittsburgh. So I think their defense makes a step up. For my faller, I got Odell Beckham. I think he has officially gone past that meter for me to where he's really a guy that's going to threaten me. Now, I think he's going to make some plays out there in the offense, but I can't trust that he's going to be healthy, and I can't trust that he's eventually not going to become an issue with just wanting the ball to come in his direction. Now, if he has grown off of that time from the Rams and he can be Odell from the Rams, which is just fit in and be part of the team, then I think, he'll be just fine. I see him as probably the 4th option on that team. And you look at it and you go, Odell Beckham, he was once a number 1, no doubt about it. I think he's more of a 4th option on this offense with
Do
Andrews,
you
with
think?
Bateman.
Do you think that?
Um,
Do you think that Odell Beckham, if we were building a fantasy team this year and you were drafted and it's your pick, no matter what pick it is, not a first, not a second, but if you're up there and it's your pick and you need a receiver, he's there. Are you taking him?
I mean, you'd probably have to throw out a couple of players that I might take over him at that point in time, but I wouldn't be targeting Odell Beckham. I mean, my forecast for him maybe 45 catches, maybe 400 to 500 yards and 3 touchdowns, maybe 5 touchdowns, depending on how it all just shakes loose. But I don't expect big things out of Beckham. So, I mean, maybe it's not just a fall because he's kind of been free falling ever since he got to the Cleveland Browns. But just the name itself attracts so much attention. And there was so much offseason hype with him going to the Ravens, which I think is a good thing just to have him on the field. But I mean, Zay Flowers, supreme athlete. I think Bateman is a way better receiver at this point in his career. He just got to stay healthy. And then you got Andrews Likely. I think there are just a plethora of options for Lamar to choose from, and that'll kind of short the stick on Beckham. But we'll see how it plays out.
Playing around with spilt milk here. Did the Giants win that trade to trade Odell Beckham to the Cleveland Browns, and we acquire Dexter Lawrence with that pick?
Dexter Lawrence, yeah, no, it's definitely a win there. Unfortunately for y'all, you've been searching for a number one ever since he walked out the door, though, as far as the wide receiver room goes. So kind of hand in hand, but I love Dexter Lawrence over there with you guys. So, yeah, at this point in time, based off of what Beckham went on to do and what Lawrence has done so far in his career, yeah, hands down for me. Next team up is the Cincinnati Bengals. What you got for Joe Cool Squad?
Cincinnati Bengals, man. I loved it. I loved what Cincinnati did. They did some good things here. I think that shoring up the trenches on both sides of the ball for me is what did it for me. Okay, I really like them getting Orlando Brown. Right?
I do too.
I really like that because, again, this goes back to what I was saying about Baltimore. They know that Joe was getting hit, and that's not cool. So they went and literally physically got the absolute best player available at that position, and no one got a better player at that position than the Cincinnati Bengals did. And then he jumped to the other side of the ball. On defense, they needed help on defense rushing the passer. Trey Hendricks had an incredible season. Sam Hubbard played really well. But adding Miles Murphy, Zach Carter, just still having, the guys who are already there, DJ Reader, BJ Hill, Tallif from USC last year, coming in year 2 guy. I just think the trenches, they really tried to shore that up and help out on both sides of the ball, so you can't fault them there. And I think that that's their rise. I think that I think that there is their rise. But to me, we're going to hit offensive side of the ball. We're going to jump on the tight end room, and we're going to drag the tight ends into this. And I'm going to say you haven't done enough, okay? And what do I mean you haven't done enough? You got Drew Sample on there, okay? Negative yards. He got negative yards last year. I'm not lying. Go hit up ESPN. Don't listen to me. Go look for yourself, okay? He got negative 2 yards last year, and he averaged negative 0.1 yards per play, okay? So he didn't have a touchdown, and he only played 2 games, all right? And that's what I'm talking about, all right? What'd you do? You go and get Irv Smith, okay?
I like that one.
And that's it.
That's
it.
Funny because that's my riser. I think he's going to be a legit weapon for the Bengals. I know he had that highlight drop, the wide open pass in the Philly game.
I'd be okay with
Smith's a talented kid.
Not saying he's not. He only played 8 games last season. He only had 2 touchdowns last year. And that's what I mean. You're putting everything on that offense on some guy who's only played a full season in 3 years one time. And that was his rookie year. He's never played a full season since. You don't draft a guy, and you don't try and shore anything up and try to get any help except but one guy at a position that, I don't know, man. He hasn't stayed healthy. He hasn't had more than 50 targets in any season.
It's a very good point. Very good point. So now you're behind Kyle Rudolph there in Minnesota for the first couple of years of his career. And then the last two, he's gotten his opportunities. And yeah, he fell short last year. He was supposed to have a breakout year last year. I think this is going to be a good situation for him, though.
So
Like I
that
said,
that to me, by putting all your eggs in one basket, and he's not Irv
mhm,
Smith for me is not the downfall. I'm not saying that he's going to be the downfall. I'm just saying that he's not going to be the reason they rise up. The whole tight end room, the whole position group as a whole, you didn't address, and that I'm out, and they're going to fail.
for sure. Well, I went individuals when it came to the Bengals. Um, this is purely on stat wise. I think T. Higgins is going to take a step back. He had a phenomenal year last year. I think statistically wise, that's going to come back down a little bit. I love everything about his game, and it's definitely no knock on T. Higgins, but I think those numbers are going to come back down a little bit. I like what they did in the draft. They took one of my favorite guys out of Purdue, Charlie Jones. I think he's going to find his way on the field sooner than later. I do like personally. I like the Irv Smith edition. Did they do enough? When you look at it like that, no, probably all around tight end position. But I think Irv Smith is going to have his best season in the NFL. So I got him as my riser. Um, Not a lot, more to talk about other than the Bengals. I mean, you went offensive line last show. I had the offensive line as being my big question mark on the Bengals, and the reason why I felt like they might not make the playoffs this year. Looking at it on paper, it looks phenomenal. Like I said last show, it looks phenomenal. But I got to see it in action because you only added one piece to it. Now it's a phenomenal piece. There's no doubt about it. But you added two pieces the year before with Kappa and Landau Collins, and you still got Jonah Williams over there, and they still couldn't keep him upright. So hopefully this next piece is kind of just unlocks the gate and Joe Burrow can stay protected because it was almost a mirror image of Joe Burrow's rookie season last year. So we'll see how it plays out, but I do like that they addressed it, and there's no doubt about it. If he ends up being the piece that makes that offensive line click, then the Bengals, I can turn around and look at them as a Super Bowl contender again because Joe Burrow is going to be clean, and there's no doubt about it. So I like how you're looking at it as
Well,
well.
it wasn't just Orlando Brown. They got Cody Ford, they got Orlando Brown. You are correct. Landon Collins and Alex Kappa coming in year two in the same system. So maybe those guys will be a little bit more successful than they were
Sure.
the year before. Cody Ford coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs, Orlando Brown coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs. That's big. Them guys coming over here to help out in that regard. Also North Dakota guard Volson. You got North Dakota State, but really, I've been looking at Jackson Carman from Clemson for 2 seasons now, and the back just hasn't been right. I don't know if he's going to end up coming through and shining and being in this rotation or not. I called him out when he was a rookie, thinking that he was going to have a good rookie season. He couldn't shake the back injury, had some more injuries, plus a little bit of back last year. Hopefully this season he can get it right and really be a contributor for that offensive line, because then they would have rotation and they would have
Yeah,
depth.
you gotta like the depth now. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some studs. I mean, look, it's not. I like what they tried to do. That's all.
Yeah. No, you look at other teams like you had touched on with Miami, and we touch on other teams that don't even make the move. They are trying.
Yeah.
They are trying. They're spending money. They're protecting their investment. So I mean, I'm not faulting them for it. I was surprised that they didn't take a step forward last year, and I don't know if that was just maybe
I
the
agree.
the pass heavy stuff that they were going with at first, and then they kind of settled down and gave Mixon the ball and kind of turned things around. So maybe it was just play calling, but it just surprised me that Joe Burrow was still taking shots and getting sacked
Well,
like he
them
was.
picking up Chase Brown this season and still having Joe Mixon on the roster. I really, 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 really hope that this season they try to become a little bit more balanced.
Yeah,
And don't just try and sit back and throw the ball so dang much. It's not that you can't. It's not that you shouldn't. It's just that being balanced, okay, is just so much more difficult to beat. It's just so
it's a
much
head
harder.
scratcher. It's a head scratcher on why too, because their defense was really good last year. They were really good, unsung players, but they were good as a unit, and especially down the stretch. So it's like I agree with you. Why you got to take a step back from yourself sometimes and be like, look, I'm being my own worst enemy. Yeah, we want Joe Burrow to throw the ball 50 times. I'd love it. Top three quarterback in the league. I'd love to do that, but is that what's best for us when they know on the other side of the ball that that's probably what's coming and their only hope is to get to Joe
Because
before he
if
can
you
make that
think
happen?
about it, and they're using that shotgun set, and you got Mixon back there, or you got Brown, Chase Brown out of Illinois, and his brother went to the Eagles. I mean, them two are just they're gonna light the league up. And I just think having these two guys back there, Brown just being just such a unique running back that they have now that they don't have in Mixon. It's just a different type of guy, a different type of build. You know, he's more
For
like
sure.
a
For sure.
bowling ball and a cannon with razor sharp cuts. And I just think that, that should be a reason why you try and run the ball a little bit more, considering you don't have the tight end help that you should have or would even like, because you let Hayden Hurst go back to the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Moving forward though, let's go let's head over to Cleveland. Give me
Cleveland.
something you like on the Browns.
Cleveland Browns. Um, you know, it's going to be an interesting year for a full entire year for Deshaun Watson coming back from all the craziness and anarchy that he put himself through and the positions he put himself in and the decisions that he chose to make. With that being said, and moving forward from that dumpster fire of a situation to deal with, I really like what they tried to do for him on the wide receiver room. Okay, so they go and they draft Bell from Purdue. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they got Jalen Durden. They sign Marquise Goodwin. Okay, you trade for Elijah Moore, which I really, really liked. You still have People Jones. You go and draft Cedric Tillman, who was a guy I thought the Giants should go and get, because he's going to bring an element that we don't have and still probably don't have on the New York Giants right now. We'll touch on that in a little bit later. But I like his big size, 6'3", his ability to go get the slant, his ability to catch the contested catch. I think doing all these things for him, Deshaun, the offense and everything, definitely got to be on the rise. And if anything, the wide receiver core is completely elevated from all the moves that they went and got. You got Cedric Tillman, third-round pick. He's got a chip on his shoulder. That dude's like, I'm a starter, bro. I'm in the third round. What are you talking about? Marquise Goodwin in interviews, people are like, bro, it's 9 seasons. You still fast? He's like, I'm like, aging like fine wine, baby. I got wheels. You know what I'm saying? You still got Amari Cooper that's trying to make noise. You got David Bell out of Purdue who's going to try to make some things happen. You got Baldwin from Michigan, rookie, another big boy, 6'2", 212. Let's see what we got. And guess who's putting a rock in them boys' hands? Deshaun Watson. Watch out for the Browns and watch out for these receivers. But the same thing that's on the rise, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be on my downfall, because I named a lot of names, but there was a couple names I didn't name, like Jakeem Grant Sr., like potentially maybe shout out Big D, Anthony Schwartz. That's his boy out of Auburn, the speedster. Just not really making moves. He's just not really doing the things that speedsters do, taking the ball and catching it to the house. Taking it to the house, averaging 13.5 first season, second season 12.8, 11 games the last year, and the year before that 14 games. He's not playing all the games. He's getting chipped up. He's got 1 touchdown in 2 seasons. The most yards he has in 2 seasons is 186 on 25 games played, on 14 receptions and 33 targets. You out
He
here,
wants DeAndre Hopkins to come over and take his spot too.
dropping
Reading
balls,
tweets.
cuz? Yeah, man, Anthony Schwartz, bro. You're on the downfall, cuz.
For me, real quick, it's Deshaun Watson. I agree. I like the weapons. I think just overall, Deshaun was one of my favorite quarterbacks, and I thought he had Super Bowl playoff potential, even with the Texans. Now that he's in Cleveland with that running game with Nick Chubb, and look out for Jerome Ford. I highlighted him last
Running
year.
back.
Dude's gonna get his time to shine this season. Now that Kareem Hunt's gone, and yeah, just I like everything about the receiving they've done. The possibility of bringing D Hop back to combine with him would just be phenomenal.
For
But
sure.
even as they're set, Amari Cooper is going to be able to teach a lot of those young guys. Donovan Peoples-Jones had a nice breakout year last year. So I'm liking a lot. I'm liking a lot about the Browns just overall. Like it's tough for me to point at one thing with the Browns because I think their defense so underachieved last year, but they have so much talent on that defense. They've spent a lot of top picks on corners and safeties. I think that's going to be on the rise too this year. This is just a team. It was tough for me. I mean, I went Donovan Peoples-Jones just because that wide receiver room just got more crowded, and I think that that's going to be a problem. He started to emerge last year. As the solid number 2 behind Amari Cooper, and people have been looking for him to do that. He's a guy out of Michigan, who I was a fan of at Michigan. But I think stat-wise, I think he could take a step back as far as numbers go, just because there's going to be a crowded room. Elijah Moore coming over, and the drafting of Cedric Tillman as well. So, yeah, that's it for me for the Browns. Let's move along to Pittsburgh here. What you got for the Steelers?
Pittsburgh, man, this one here was this one for me was just solely based upon numbers, and just maybe it's potentially because Kenny Pickett is just not they're just not gelling well together. The timing, they're not getting down. I'm not sure what it is, but the numbers are telling me that from what I'm gathering and what I see, Kenny Pickens is on the rise, and I think he's gonna have a really big year this year. George Pickens is on the rise. I think he's going to have a really good season this year to complement his rookie season, which he had a really good rookie season, 800 yards. He averaged 15.4. He had 4 touchdowns. His longest was 42, and he had some insane laying out catches where he's just catching the ball that, like, you couldn't even do that if you were laying on your bed, and he did it in midair. Okay.
Coming off that bad knee injury at Georgia too, just spectacular to see him do as well as he did.
Absolutely. He didn't miss a beat coming off that knee injury. To be a taller receiver at 6'3", 200 pounds, I'd like to see maybe potentially put on a little bit more muscle. And he played 17 games last season, which really is a credit to his toughness, which I don't think we talk about enough. We complain about players going after the money. You know, I hear a lot of talks about guys going after the money and everybody going, he's just hungry for the money, bro.
It's that Pittsburgh culture, though, man. They know how to pick him, and yeah, you're right. He fits right in with that mentality.
So I got George Pickens on the rise, playing 17 games. He had 84 targets. He had 52 receptions. I mean, that's pretty dang good. He only didn't, 30 of them he didn't get. I mean, that's for a rookie season. That's a pretty good season. I think he's going to build on that. Now, my on the downfall, I think, is a guy that, is a guy that Charlie liked for some time now, Deontay Johnson, the receiver. On the Pittsburgh, who's basically was the one holding the roof up when, all of that other stuff was going on with all them other receivers and stuff like that. And Juju was leaving and Juju was hurt. Here comes this Deontay Smith, just handling it, rookie year 600, and he just keeps getting better, and then he's 900, and then 2021 he had 1,000 yards, and then last season Pickens came out and he only got 800 yards. He got 882 yards. He only averaged 10.3, which is his lowest of any season averaging per play. Okay, he had 147 targets, which was damn near his least amount besides his rookie season. And then he only had 86 receptions that season. He did play all 17 games, but the rookie still outshined him. Now, the reason why I'm saying Pickens is up, Johnson is down, is because they got Freiermuth at tight end, who's catching everything. And then they just went and picked up at I forget the college that he came from, but they just drafted Georgia. It was Georgia, yeah. Donnell Washington, 6'7" tight end, who's got some wheels on him, man, who can catch the ball. So I just think there's just not going to be enough targets when you factor in the fact that you're going to be handing the ball
in the pecking order for sure.
Well, they're going to be handing the ball off to Najee, so they're going to stay balanced. And, you know, I just don't think there's enough balls to go around being as balanced as they're going to try and be. And I just think that he could potentially end up just being a possession catch kind of guy here and there and not being fed or even looked at as, you know, a number one.
Yeah, I think the pecking order shifted. The relationship between Pickett and Pickens, you could see that chemistry was starting to take off, and at the same time, Deontay Johnson's chemistry with Pickett maybe wasn't heading in that same direction. I think Pickett wants to stretch the ball down the field, and for Deontay Johnson, his bread and butter is route running and moving across the middle. And he still has had trouble with drops and stuff like that. So I can see what you're saying, where Deontay came into the season as the number one after Juju left. And yeah, down in the pecking order to second, maybe even third, because Freiermuth does shine and he's consistent. He's a playmaker. And I think they get back to the run a lot better. I do like the Washington. He's an animal, a freak of nature. And for me, the risers is Najee and Pickens. I like both of them, as I said on the show last week. For me, the faller is the Pittsburgh defense, which has been a vaunted unit for years and years and years and years and years, and that's what you think of when you think of Pittsburgh. But it's getting old. It's getting old. And I look around, and I think they'll be able to keep it together, but minus Minkah Fitzpatrick, minus your studs, you know, your TJ Watt, everybody else is just it's not enough for me. They were a top 10 scoring defense last year. I think they're going to struggle on that side of the ball this season. The Ravens are going to get better in offense. The Bengals are still top notch in offense. The Browns are going to get better on offense. So just in their division went out there and got much better on offense as well. So I think it's going to be problematic for aging Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Hayward is getting up there as well. So for me, it's the defense taking a step back. I don't know how that's ultimately going to shake out. You know, we'll talk about predictions for teams and stuff like that down the road. But yeah, for me, looking at it right now on paper, defense taking a step back in my eyes. Let's bounce down to the AFC South, though. Houston Texans.
AFC South.
What catches your eye down there?
AFC South, I got I got the whole organization is on the rise. You go and you get your quarterback for the future. You know, it's not going to be Davis Mills. You know, that was a forced pick because of the trade, and you have to go get a guy. So you go get a guy because you have to, not because you wanted to. And that just didn't work out. And Davis Mills wasn't it. And he played admirably, had an incredible game his rookie season against the New England Patriots, and broke a New England Patriot record of having a quarterback score a touchdown on that defense because no one ever did it. And Davis Mills looked promising. And then year two just came out, and you're just like, no, it's not going to be it. And then they fall, to the second pick, and they pick up C.J. Stroud, and that's their guy, and that's who they wanted to get. And, they moved on from Deshaun Watson and that whole dumpster fire of a PA situation. And I think that can you get any worse than that? No. So they're on the rise, right? Until we play a game, I feel like I got them on the rise. What do I got on the down slope, on the downfall? I got Jerry Hughes is getting up there in age, and the Texans went and signed Winovich, who plays the same position he plays, and potentially Winovich is a little bit younger with a little bit more burst and potentially could edge him out and end up getting more snaps. I got Hughes on the decline, even though he's been a hell of a player since he's been in the league. He's definitely no slouch. But believe it or not, people, age ends up biting everybody, and Hughes is getting
Yeah,
bit.
I agree with you on the culture switch with D'Amico Ryan's coming over from San Francisco. It's hard to imagine Houston staying down and kind of just treading water like they've been the past couple of seasons with lame duck head coach after head coach. I think he's going to bring a great presence, in particular to that defense, and that's where I start off with my risers. It's the linebacker Christian Harris, who they drafted last year, and he was slow to come on because he was battling some injuries. But I think he's going to take off in this defense. I loved him at Alabama, and I think he's going to be that next guy in line like they had in San Francisco year after year, to where he's going to be the man in the middle that's just wreaking havoc, whether it's coming up and stopping the run, defending the pass. He's a guy that's capable of doing it all in my eyes. So I like Christian Harris' second season coming into the league and running that scheme for D'Amico Ryans. And then for my faller, it's a former Dallas Cowboys, Dalton Schultz, coming over. Although I think he'll be serviceable, I don't feel like he's going to have the same presence that he had with Dallas. With Dallas, he was the guy that was always there, and he was just in the right place at the right time. Dak Prescott would find him all day long, and he put up really good numbers. I think he had a Pro Bowl under his belt as well. Deservingly so. He got a nice contract to come down to Houston. I just don't see him being the guy there. I think Stroud's going to want to push the ball down the field more. He probably could make some plays and stuff like that, but I think his numbers are going to take a scale down because he was a focal point in Dallas. He was basically the number two for the past couple of years after Amari Cooper left there in Dallas. So I think he takes a knock. Um, let's shoot up to Indianapolis and talk about the Colts.
Colts. I got the running back game on the rise, and it's going to
Yeah,
bounce back. I think the Colts running game is going to bounce back this season. I don't think at all Jonathan Taylor is going to stay put and have a bad season this season like he had last year. They signed Zach Moss. Okay, you still have Deontay Jackson. They got Jake Funk from the Rams. So they got a little bit of depth there. Some guys who could do some different things and go some different ways. You know, Zach
plus the
Moss.
coaching.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Zach Moss is a Buffalo running back who didn't end up working out over there. But you know, you're coming over here to an offensive line that loves to run the ball. I think you're going to get production out of every one of these guys. I don't think at all it's going to be because of the reasons you think. I think because of Anthony Richardson potentially giving them keeping the offensive setup balance. Like when you're helping the run game out like that, you're going to allow the running backs to have that one or two step that they wouldn't have because the defense is waiting to see if Richardson keeps it or not. You know, just like the same kind of effect that Lamar Jackson has on that running back crew, and why potentially Baltimore didn't end up trying to get them any extra type help. Because really, realistically, the Colts didn't either. I mean, it's still Jonathan Taylor or nothing. But at least now they have a couple guys they can hand the rock to.
no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think Stauskas or whatever his name is coming over from Philly is going to bring a very complementary style of offense that's going to be predicated on the running game over to Indianapolis. So I think that's a great call on your behalf with the running back room bouncing back. Obviously, Taylor had his bumps and bruises last year, and a couple of people were starting to doubt him a little bit. I know he was bumming out a lot of fantasy football owners out last year, but I think he's going to bounce back and be just fine in this new scheme. And whether it's Gardner Minshew or it's Anthony Richardson, I agree that's going to finally give them a little bit of escapability at the quarterback position because Gardner Minshew can move around as well. And we had talked about him possibly starting the season, not being a big guess there as well. But you look at the prior two quarterbacks, they had basically, you were playing chess pieces out there, and they were stationary as you could come, with your Matt Ryan, and then previous to that, Phillip Rivers. So yeah, they're going to have some movability. So I agree with you and what you said on that.
So my downfall is linebacker Shaquille Leonard is my downfall, because he's literally played 16 games basically every single season. 2022 he has not. He played 3. He had 11 tackles. It didn't look good for him, and that was quite some time ago. And he's still
That was
injured.
another guy with a back injury last year.
He's still injured, and he's still questionable for even coming back to camp where you're not even wearing pads yet. So he's questionable. There's not much to be said about that, and I just think that coming in to the season already, and the fact that you're already this many seasons in already, touching 30, I just think that like it's not gonna go well. It very well
Yeah,
could.
you're not going to get stronger after 30. That's for damn sure.
You could bounce back and you could end up having an incredible season, but I'm just, the clock's working against you, and I don't know. I just don't
It's
know.
a shame because he was one of my favorite players to watch at that position, when he was healthy. So hopefully he is able to bounce back.
Yeah, I mean
They're
he's 27. It's possible. I mean he's not that old, but he's coming up on 30, and this is the first time this has ever happened to him like this, and some guys just never come back from it. I'm calling downfall.
Gotcha.
I'm not wishing it on him because he is a stud, and I wish nothing but
That
the
would be
best.
a significant loss, especially after Bobby Okereke bailed ship and went to the Giants and stuff like that. Now they still do have some nice young linebackers. EJ Speed's there, which I really like. But yeah, that would be a massive loss to the Colts defense, who struggled last year. I think they were like 28th ranked, overall in defense last year. So yeah, it would be massive not to be able to get him back healthy. But if anybody's had a back injury out there, you want to take your time getting that thing right, because that's one you don't want to rush back. So hopefully he can get back. That would be unfortunate. For me, I'm on the same page as you with the running game, and just the overall Colts offense was not dynamic last year. I remember watching one of the Thursday night games, and it was just terrible between them and Denver, and it was just waiting for it to be over, man. We report on this stuff and we follow this stuff, so had to watch it, but it was excruciating. I much rather would have watched badminton or something, man. It was a terrible game to watch. But I think their offense takes a step forward here, get back to the middle of the pack. I'm not saying that wonders are going to be done, because obviously they're bringing together a rookie quarterback and a journeyman quarterback over to run the offense. But I think they're going to stick to their bread and butter. I think the running game is going to be a heavy dosage, and they still got some talent there with Michael Pittman. Leads me to my faller, and again, I think this is just a faller in. I don't think he's going to be a fantastic fit in this offense, and that's Isaiah McKenzie coming over from the Buffalo Bills. Loved what they did with him in Buffalo. Seemed to fit that offense so perfectly. I don't know. I've got my questions on how he's going to fit into this Philly offense, because if I would have put him on Philly last year, I don't know, besides some gimmick plays similar to a Miko Hardman, how I would get him the ball. Very tiny guy, but very explosive. So if you can get it to him in space, he's a problem. I think that they'll try to doctor up some ways to do that, but I just don't think the production is going to be there without, kind of being hidden by Josh Allen, Stephen Diggs, and everything else Buffalo was doing over there. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for him to find a foothold in the offense and really be worth the money they spent to bring him over. So for me, I think that's the faller for me. Moving back down south to Jacksonville, though, Jacksonville Jaguars. What you got going on there?
Jacksonville Jaguars. I got Christian Kirk is on the rise. How could it not be? He is on the rise. Christian Kirk is coming back, and we're going to get ourselves a full season of Christian Kirk
I like it.
rising, and then the same
Do you think
position.
Ridley's going to be problematic in that process, though?
I mean, I think that, it could help him. You know, I mean, with the
I like it.
ability, you know, you got Evan Ingram. You know, it's like, who am I going to double?
Take
So
some of the pressure off.
now you can't double, and
Yeah,
it can allow things to open up for not just him, but potentially everybody, even the run game. It just changes the dynamic, right? Because I mean,
I
Ingram's
agree.
still there, and Ingram's still going to do his thing, like he did last season, which he had an incredible season last season. You know, and then you know, I mean, Ridley's there. Ridley's going to help out too. I mean, it's going to help. It's going to help the situation, you know. But I don't think that it'll take from them. You know what I mean? I think that it's going to help the situation and just allow the ball to be spread throughout and keep everybody honest. You know what I mean? I think it's just going to help out because sometimes when you have just one guy and everybody knows you just got that one guy, like
Oh yeah,
like 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 for instance the Tennessee Titans, Treylon Burks. You know, like who else do they have over there? They got Treylon Burks in the run game. Like who's the tight end? What
yeah. I
else?
think
What
that
else do you
allowed
have?
Ingram. I think Kirk's season last year allowed Ingram and Zay Jones to have probably their best career years last year. So I agree with you.
On the fall though, it's Jamal Agnew's on the fall because you know Agnew's been on Jacksonville for quite some time now. He's been a slot guy, and you know now it just seems like he's a return specialist, and that's it. I mean, he was a return specialist for a while, but we were actually still seeing him in the slot. You know, we were still seeing that. Okay, but you know, I just don't think with all the acquisitions and you know, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, everybody being there. Calvin Ridley now is going to be there. I just don't see it. You know, I don't see him having any more room there to be this guy to come in and be on that roster other than a special teams guy. I think he's special teams guy now. That's it. Which
Yeah,
don't get me
no,
wrong, everybody needs a special teams guy.
no. I mean, that's a big part of the game. That's one third of it that gets ignored, and Agnew is dynamic in that. So I mean, even if he just continues to do that, that's fine. But I agree, it's a crowded room now. You're bringing over Ridley, you know, and you've added more pieces through the draft as well. So it's going to be tough for him to find his way onto the field consistently. So I agree. For me, real quick, is Jacksonville's pass rush. They were 26 in sacks last season. They're going to have three rookie quarterbacks in their division potentially if Richardson ends up drawing the start. Um, and I think they're going to get after it. I think that front seven is dynamic, athletic, and when I was looking at the numbers, I really couldn't believe that they were only 26 in sacks last year. Probably due to the secondary, I would imagine. But they got another year under their belt for them, and they signed a couple of people in the offseason. I think that could help shore that up a little bit more. So yeah, them sitting at 26 with Allen's and the kid they drafted last year, whose name's escaping me right now. I don't see that happening again. And then on the flip side, I think the offense was a top 10 scoring offense last year. I think they take a step back. I think Doug Peterson was able to catch lightning in a bottle last year, and he was able to just really get the best out of Trevor Lawrence and everybody else that was there. And they struck where the iron was hot. They were, you know, by far the best team in the division come the end of the year. Lots of teams were struggling. Texans were spiraling. Colts were spiraling, and so were the Titans. So in that division, they were able to do as they pleased a lot. I think they're going to take a step back. I'm not saying the offense is going to fall apart, but I think Doug Peterson's scheme and what he was working is going to get caught up to a little bit. I know for sure that Mike Vrabel and the Titans are going to be locked in on it. And I don't doubt that D'Amico Ryans is going to have his fair share of plans coming over to the Texans to put a halt to that because they are the target now this year. So I think the offense takes a little step back. I don't think they're a top 10 offense this year. Last team in the division, Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee Titans. I got the Tennessee Titans offensive line is on the rise. They signed Andrew Dillard from the Philadelphia Eagles,
Like that kid.
who's a beast of an offensive tackle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You get Zach Johnson from the Denver Broncos. You go and draft yourself Peter Skoronsky from Northwestern, arguably one of the best offensive tackles coming out of the draft last year. I just think in the end of it all, you know, you get Daniel Bunskill. I think that is going to end up helping out the offense a little bit. There still are some question marks at quarterback. Who's it going to be? Is it Tannehill? Are we trying to force Tannehill out? We just keep drafting quarterbacks every year, but every year it still seems to end up being Tannehill. I don't know. There's still so many question marks, but in the trenches on the offensive side of the ball, I think they'll be a little bit better. On the downside of all of that, I think same side of the ball. I know this is a head scratcher, Eddie. What the hell? I think Treylon Burks is going to have a worse year than he did last year. I think that the fact that this quarterback carousel, we have no idea. Eddie, what do you mean?
Sure.
Well, because what's going to end up happening, right, if we play 5-6 games, and in those 5-6 games, they win 2 or 3, you're going to see a different quarterback. So how's Treylon Burks going to have chemistry with whoever else is the quarterback? I'll wait. I mean, it's not going to be Malik Willis. And Will Levis ended up dropping so far, so fast that, people are like, there's got to be tons of question marks with this guy. What's he saying? What's he doing? Is he completing anything? What's going on? You got Malik Willis. Seemed like the coach never liked him to begin with because I said stay in the pocket and throw the ball, and you ran, and we haven't seen him since. Okay, so it just seems like potentially if the Ryan Tannehill experiment again this season doesn't work out, what's going to happen? We're going to run around the carousel, and then in turn, that's going to lose production. That very well could mean very good things for other guys, maybe say some tight ends or some running backs or something along those lines, but I just don't see Treylon Burks having another 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, the QB situation over there is going to be in flux. I hope Levis ends up getting the start and they just let him work through some things with that running game and stuff. I mean, for me, I think it's tough to say. I think it's King Henry. I think he takes a step back. I highlighted it on the show last week, so I'm not going to harp too much on that. But my riser is Rashad Weaver. Was drafted last year, got on the field a little bit for this Tennessee Titans defense. 2 forced fumbles, 5.5 sacks last year as a rookie. He was a 4th-round pick. Tall, long, athletic, bendy guy. They had the losses. Bud Dupree's gone now, so he's going to be slotted in. He's going to get more action. I think this is a double-digit sack type of guy, especially within that defense, and that's my riser on the Titans. Moving down to the West, AFC West. Let's kick it off with Denver. What you got going on down there with the Broncos?
Denver Broncos. I'm taking a gander at the Denver Broncos. And I'm just going to go and I'm going to say that the Denver Broncos offensively are going to move in the right direction this year because of them picking up a quarterback who has had success with quarterbacks who have been thrown to the side, such as Drew Brees, because he had a shoulder injury. And the team who drafted him, the Chargers, didn't believe in him anymore, so they got rid of him, and they drafted Eli, and then they traded Eli to the Giants, and then they acquired Phillip Rivers from the Giants, and they didn't believe in him. And guess what? He goes to the Saints, okay? And Drew Brees wins more Super Bowls than Phillip Rivers did. So I think the Chargers...
Broncos are winning the Super Bowl this year? Is that what you just said?
I didn't say that. I just said that Peyton... Sean Payton ends up getting a guy who the team thought wasn't good anymore, okay? Sure. And he ends up winning a Super Bowl with the guy, Drew Brees. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen there, but what I'm trying to say is he gets success out of people who have been thrown to the curb. I mean, look, Russell Wilson got traded and thrown to the curb. It's not working out anymore, but it's time to leave. And I think that Sean Payton's going to get the best out of him. He's my riser.
I agree.
My faller, okay, is going to be on the defensive side of the ball for the Denver Broncos. And that's going to end up being a guy who has just not been the guy. Like, we thought he was going to be the guy coming out of Nebraska. We thought he was the dude, bro. He's been in the league 5 seasons. Just not it, bro. If anything, he's a stud rotational guy. I think Randy Gregory is on the last leg. He's 30. He's 6'5". He's going to struggle to stay on the field and stay healthy this season. He's working his way out the door. He's on a downcline.
We're on the same page because I'm looking offense. I think Sean Payton's going to come over. I think he's going to do wonders for the Broncos offense. There's no way to me in my mind mentally. We talked about the Colts. Denver was just as anemic, and they were the other team in that game that was terrible as compared to a badminton match. Um, for me, it's Jerry Jeudy. I think he's going to be the top beneficiary of this situation. Michael Thomas esque potential numbers for Jerry Jeudy. And as long as he can manage to stay healthy, I think Jerry Jeudy pops off this year with Russell Wilson. I think they get it together. There were times last year when I looked, they would pan to the sideline, and it didn't look like those two were feeling each other, particular Jeudy. But I think they wash that out, and success kind of puts those prior problems at bed. When you're eating, you're scoring touchdowns, your offense is playing good, and you're winning games. And I think all of that is going to come with Sean Payton. And I think Jerry Jeudy is going to have by far a career year this year. And then for my fallers, it's on the other side of the ball as well. It's the defense. It was a top 10 unit last year. I think Fangio being gone is going to be missed because he is one of those top minds that just put it together. And I think there's going to be a lot of focus on the offense. And I think the defense is going to take a little bit of a step back. I still like lots of pieces on that defense, but I think they take a step back and fall out of the top 10 this year. Um, Moving forward, Kansas City. Who you got with the Chiefs?
Kansas City Chiefs. I know you're going to laugh at me at this one. Everybody says he's on the rise. Kadarius Toney. Everybody, he's on the rise. Kadarius Toney. He's literally done nothing over there except catch a punt return in a Super Bowl. So he's on the rise. I don't think he's going to stay healthy. It's not that I don't think he has the capability of doing it. I still believe that he has the capability because he's just electric. He has the speed. He has the ability. Does he have the work ethic? Does he have any of that? Man, I just don't know, but I just don't think the hamstrings are going to stay healthy over there for him, unless that was just a ploy because he just didn't want to play for the Giants. But then again, that goes back to my work ethic. You know, I don't know that he has the work ethic to be this elite guy that everybody thinks he's going to be just because Mahomes is there and just because. Yeah, my down is they're going to put so much faith in him, and it's just not it. I mean, they got Richie James over there. It's the exact same guy. Richie James is a little bit better of a guy who's going to stay healthy. Still had a couple key drops in some situations that he needs to work on, but he stays healthy, and it's the same exact guy. So I think even if he ends up being a downfall and the faith that they put in Toney doesn't end up working out, I don't even think they miss a beat. It's not even a question mark. Doesn't matter. It's neither here nor there because they're so deep at wide receiver of untapped talent that we just haven't seen and we just don't know. Is it there? Is it not there? We haven't seen it to say it's not there. Therefore, it's there because we haven't seen it. You know, and when you trade McCall Hardman away, and then one of your most productive guys that you got out of free agency, Juju Smith-Schuster, you end up letting him walk. That tells me one thing: the coaching staff knows exactly what the hell is going on over there.
They usually do.
And I just think that they're not going to miss a beat. It doesn't. It's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter whether Toney does good or not because there's just still so much untapped talent that we haven't seen over there. You know, I mean, they signed John Ross. You still have Justin Ross, okay, from Clemson. Never even got a chance to see him yet, okay? They drafted Rice, 6'2", out of SMU. There's just so much there. You still have Western Michigan, Sky Moore. I just touched on Richie James. They still have Ty Frogler. Jaron Earle, Ole Miss. I mean, another guy who could be like Kadarius Toney. It's just so much there. There's so many wide receivers. They still have Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Like, there's just so much there. I don't even think it matters.
Who's your faller? Or
yeah, that's my faller.
Who's your riser then?
Oh,
for Casey,
the offense, the wide receivers. I think no matter what,
as a unit.
Yeah, I think as a unit, because they showed it last year. Like they don't need the one guy. They don't need it, right?
All the
Like
unsung
some
guys. Yeah.
some teams need that. Some like the Giants wish they had that last year in the playoffs. Maybe if they had a number one, maybe that could have took some of the defense on that guy and opened up things for everybody else. We didn't have that. Maybe we'll have that this year with Waller or whatever ends up transpiring. But we didn't have that. So, I think that for them, it doesn't matter. I think they win no matter what. I think coaching staff, top to bottom, the organization is beat them. Beat them. You haven't beat them, so you got to beat them. I mean,
Well, the only guy you didn't mention in that wide receiver room was Justin Watson. That's my guy that I really like. Lunch pail type of dude. Got a lot of playing time last year. Developed a lot of chemistry with Mahomes, and I think brought a lot of trust. He made a lot of big catches last season for him. He's not dynamic. He's not wow. He's not any of those things. He's not the electric Tony. Miko Hardman type, any of that type of stuff. But possession, catch, dependable, and crafty at just getting open. A different version of a Cooper Kupp when you're talking about, I guess, another white wide receiver. But I liked what I was seeing out of him. Gamer, definitely came from the practice squad, worked hard to get where he was at, and he even started a couple of games when Juju went down and was productive. So Justin Watson's my riser within that offense. And then the number one scoring offense from last year, I do think that there's a little bit of a catch up to Kansas City's offense. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back. You lose Bieniemy, you lose Juju, and Travis Kelce another year older. It's hard to sit there and say definitively, but I don't like a lot of the receivers that they have. I know they know how to manufacture it in Kansas City, and I have complete trust that they will figure it out. But I think there are going to be some bumps along the way in the road with this new Kansas City receiving core. Very young guys, very inexperienced guys, and until I see it on the field and say, okay, that's a guy, and he's proven he can be a guy. For me, I'm just going to take the Kansas City down just a couple of notches. I'm not saying they're falling out of the top 10 by any stretch of the imagination, because whenever you have Andy Reid, Mahomes, and Travis Kelce, you just can't do that. But I do think they take a step back from being crown champions of the offense this year. A team that could use some more offense,
Wow.
and definitely look at it on paper, that would be the Las Vegas Raiders are next.
I got to tell you, man, it really
Struggle.
is a struggle. I struggle to find a riser here.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find a riser, and guys, be mean to me in the comments if you want, but I'm picking the easiest possible one here. And I think that in this whole mess of things, I think the only one who is still going to be able to figure out a way to benefit from this is going to be Davante Adams. There's not really much to say. I think Davante Adams is an incredibly hard worker. I think that the success that he had with Green Bay may have been overshadowed by Aaron Rodgers, but we're going to see when Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets if he's just as good, because Davante Adams proved it that he went and he's still just as good without Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know if people were like, oh, he's not going to miss a beat because, that's his boy and they went to college together. I just think that no matter who's throwing him the ball, Jimmy Garoppolo, you, me, the next guy who leaves a comment in the comment section below could probably get 1,000 yards with Davante Adams. I think that Davante Adams is going to eat. My downfall of this whole entire fiasco of the Las Vegas Raiders show is the organization.
Yeah.
The top. Okay? You go and you do the moves you did. You get rid of Darren Waller. Just start getting rid of every good player. Why don't you trade Crosby to the Giants? Because I love Crosby so much. The tenacity on that guy. What a savage Crosby is. the Raiders nation is lucky to have a defensive end like that on a squad that they have. That really he holds the roof up on that entire organization to begin with. I mean, they're good a little bit on defense because of him and because of the motor that guy has and never stops coming. But shame on the head coach, the organization. Like, if it's even remotely closely true that, I'm not trying to spread anything, but if they said that the reason why they traded Darren Waller is because Waller didn't invite the head coach to the wedding, bro, that organization's in trouble if that's what really happened. You're in trouble.
Does it have a whiff of like Jerry Jones-esque shoot yourself in the foot,
Yeah.
minus the talent
Yeah.
part,
Yes.
or even it didn't fall far from the tree, Al Davis run Raiders. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point where you don't feel bad for
At
them.
all.
You can just see them slow motion train wreck. And even the sign of Jimmy Garoppolo not knowing he's healthy enough, and it's already thrown out there that he might not even play this shit. It's just like you guys. It's hard to feel bad for you. It's hard to feel bad
No,
for
it's
you. But
not.
you're
I feel bad for you.
completely right about Devontae Adams. He
Aiden
he
O'Connell.
reminds he reminds me of D Hop down there in Houston, where D Hop had just practice squad guys throwing him passes, and year after year, 100 catches, double digit touchdowns. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. You just throw the ball up there, and I'm gonna bring it in. You just chuck it. Just chuck it. And a lot of times, honestly, Carr last year was doing just that. Back foot prayer. I'm gonna throw it up as high as I can, as far as I can, and lo and behold, Devontae Adams is there running underneath of it for another 40-yard touchdown. He was a beast last year. He was damn near better than he was in Green Bay, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, his numbers were spectacular last year. Um, so I got to agree with you. And it was hard. It was hard to find a riser and a faller, and I had to dig deep. I didn't have to dig deep on my faller. And I know this probably won't be popular with you, but it's Josh Jacobs. I think because of the quarterback situation and just everything that's going on with them and what they're doing, I think it's bound to hurt him. He was
Yeah.
so electric and phenomenal last year. It
When you're
was it was
throwing the
so
ball.
much fun to
When you're
watch him.
when you're throwing the ball.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be a struggle. And yeah, I feel bad for him because he had a flat out spectacular year last year. Everybody was like, "This is your last year. You're done. We're not picking up your option." Lo and behold, kid balls out. Second best player on that team. If Devontae Adams wouldn't have put up what he put up, it was hands down Josh Jacobs was the number one guy on that team last year. And then for my riser is going to be a guy from Pittsburgh, linebacker, lunch pail dude. It's Robert Spillane. He's going to be taking over for Denzel Perryman. Now, because the Raiders' offense is going to be so bad, I look for Spillane to crack 100 tackles. I watched him a lot at Pittsburgh, and he stuck out to me. I remember there was one play in particular where he came up and met Derrick Henry in the hole on the goal line, head up, and went man to man with him and stopped Henry. Dude's a lunch pail guy. I think he's going to step in. He had 79 total tackles for the Steelers last season. I think he can up that number in an expanded role this season for the Raiders and be a little bit of a bright spot, behind Crosby in the front there. So that's the best I could find, though. It was tough digging, man. And I'll see we both will see as OTAs start to play out, and then we get into preseason and stuff like that. We'll actually get to see these guys in action and get a little bit more under our belt. But at this point in time, it's tough to pick with the Raiders. It really is.
I agree.
Let's bounce down to the last team in the AFC, and that is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, it's another tough one for me. I mean, I'm sure you could just sit here with a fine tooth comb and pick and pick and pick away. Some things you like, some things you don't like. I got a bunch of things I don't like still, even still with this team. I got a lot more that I don't like than that I do like. I like my coming over, my rise over. I think Eric Kendricks is going to come in. I think Eric Kendricks is going to produce and be the linebacker that this team needed for a while, help them in the run
I like
game.
that a lot.
I think in the end of it all, it's going to end up helping out Bosa, and it's going to end up helping out Khalil Mack potentially, and maybe even help Kenneth Murray, who had his best season last year out of Oklahoma, year 3. You would have liked to see that year 1, year 2, but better late than never. 80 tackles last season. Just keep up the good work. He played all 17 games last year. So I think Kendricks is going to end up helping the defense out and have everybody on the rise in general. But I'm just picking Kendricks to have a good season. But I think overall it's going to end up bleeding out and helping everybody on that side of the ball.
Yeah, he's a good leader. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, no, he definitely is a stud. When it's coming to that, my fall though is that I just don't think offensively they did enough with the draft picks. I know you end up getting the wide receiver, because that was a position in need, and that's what you needed, Quentin Johnson, to go get somebody to kind of try to help Keenan Allen out and potentially
Mhm.
replace that of Keenan Allen. I don't think you should have re-signed Keenan Allen. You did again anyway. You realize what you did. You gave him too much money. It's year 10. You took some money back from the contract that you did. Quentin Johnson, and then you went and got his buddy at a TCU. Um, I forget dude's name. The shorter guy, right? You ended up drafting like a his
At the
or
wide receiver room.
I thought it was a wide receiver, Darius Davis. Um, you end up drafting both of them at a TCU and the quarterback. You drafted Max Duggan too at a TCU. You literally 3
Yeah.
picks at a TCU. Um, I don't know if it works out. It works out, but my downfall is the offense. I mean, I really was going to end up making it be the defensive back from the New England Patriots that we still really haven't. He got a big contract. We still really
C.
haven't.
Jackson.
Yeah, we still haven't seen J.C. Jackson come back and contribute out of Maryland. I really was going to have that, but I just don't like the offense. It's still the same offense to me. You got 2 wide receivers. It's literally still the same offense. And you didn't try and go get a wide receiver or anybody else to try and come in. I mean, you're just putting a lot of faith in these 2 rookies from TCU. I just didn't like that. And I wish they would have went and got a running back. I wish they would have got somebody else to help out your boy who's doing everything. He's literally your leading receiver. He's your leading rusher. He's literally doing everything. And then you're like, oh, we're gonna trade him. Are you out of your mind, bro? Like, what are you guys doing over there, man? Like, get Herbert, somebody, bro. Like, they're smart enough to go, all right, let's get offensive line, and you're just hitting every single year on offensive linemen. Good for you guys. I've been saying Rashawn Slater was an absolute stud. They're like, no, he's not a tackle. He's got short arms. Comes out straight stud. They're hitting on all cylinders, but I think you got to do a little bit more. Not getting a tight end. There's all these tight ends out there. Not getting a tight end, not getting receivers, not getting a running back. That offense being what that offense is. And you just keep putting everybody on the defense. You keep signing all this money on defense. I think offense is not going to. You're just making it hard for him, dude.
Yeah, I I second every single thing you just said about the Chargers. It's, my riser, I'm a jump on the bandwagon there. It's that left side of the line with Slater and Zion Johnson. I think those 2 kids are going to continue to grow and get better. And my faller is the Los Angeles Chargers organization as a whole. I do not know what they're doing. I mean, I'm going to double down on your why do you take Quentin Johnson, the same type of receiver that you had already? Why don't you go Zay Flowers there if you want to go a receiver? To me, a head scratcher. Why do you not bring some more running back talent into the room to give Eckler a break? I don't get it. The Kendrick signing is the first signing that I've liked on that defense, like a lot, because he's a heady player, good leader. He's gonna make everybody in that defensive locker room better. Just because of the man he is coming over. But still, as an organization, you've kind of kicked around and pissed around the last 3 years of a good team. And now you wake up in the morning, Kansas City's still out there hustling. They got up at 6 a.m. And now all of a sudden, you got the Broncos. Sean Payton comes to town. They're going to be much better. Defensively, they were already elite. That offense is not going to be the same offense that you had the pleasure playing twice last year. And all of a sudden, you're third in the division in my eyes. All of a sudden, you're in threat of not making the playoffs this year in my eyes. Instead of being that team that was just like, man, they just need to put that thing together. Now, all of a sudden, you're the team that's getting overlooked. We're looking at Jacksonville. We're looking at the Jets. We're looking at Cleveland on the rise. We're looking at Baltimore reloading. The Bengals are still there. The Bills, the Dolphins. There's not going to be any room for you at the table, and it's unfortunate because of much of a talent as Justin Herbert turned out to be. He was the real deal. It's going to be a waste, I feel like, for the Chargers because the front office, the coaching staff, the people making the decisions are the problem, I feel like. And as much as we just got done making fun of the Raiders and their decision making, the Chargers really, man, despite themselves, have still managed to have a good team on the field despite themselves. And they're a team that's got talent. They kind of almost mirror to me a Dallas Cowboys team who year in and year out so talented, but you can tell at the top, at least you can see those guys. I have no idea who it is for the Chargers that's pulling the strings besides the head coach, but at least you can see in Dallas, oh, they have faces. That is the plain reason because they're out there. The Chargers,
Right.
dude, I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. We all know in Dallas it's one man and one man only creating the problems there. And as soon as he lets it go and lets the people he pay do their job, I guarantee you the Dallas Cowboys turn it around.
But
Because
you look around the league and you can look at the organizations like the Chargers, man. It's just like, why? You just scratch your head. And like you said, the trade rumors with Eckler, there's no way in hell you could let that dude go. How could you not pay him? Out of all the running backs in the league, honestly, durability, the threat in the passing game and the run game, he is so undervalued.
He's a baby Christian McCaffrey.
He is, but he's there every week. Like he's there every week, and you're absolutely right. And like I'd rather have the guy that's going to be there every week than the guy who's a couple inches taller.
I agree.
It's just
I agree.
It's head scratching. It's head scratching
for sure.
With the Chargers.
That's the AFC, folks.
That's the AFC. That's the rundown. That's from top to bottom.
It's the AFC.
Tune in for the NFC show. Please give us your feedback on this one. Let us know who you think might be making a splash. Let us know who you might be,
who's on your
thumbs down to.
Who's on your radar?
Yes, because we're only two simple men here giving our opinions.
Who's on your radar?
We like to hear what you got. We are two men down still on the show, pressing forward. We will have that back together as well. But thank you for listening.
Yes, sir.
And come back and check us out. Leave us a like. Leave us a dislike.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Char.
Thank you, Eddie. You did an incredible job. Incredible job, as usual.
Couldn't keep it at a regular time frame, but we try.
Deuces. We didn't do bad. We didn't do bad. There's so much to talk about.
Deuces.